everybody and welcome to my video getting tidier. I hope you're well. So I start this video with finishing off, doing some more work. I won't say finishing off, doing some more work on what I started the other day. Also, a massive shout out to those of you that have just recently started following me and you've subscribed. Very much appreciate it. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please do consider subscribing if you feel like my videos would interest you. So I've got this channel which is all about getting tidier. The name actually did start Getting Tidy, and then I wondered whether I'd ever be able to actually achieve that, and that was an unrealistic New Year's resolution for 2023. I originally started this. And then I thought, well, if my New Year's resolution is to get tidier, that's more achievable and more realistic. I watched a YouTuber the other day that was talking about her childhood and how every single Saturday, I wish I'd written down her name. If I find it again, that came up as recommended. If I find it again, I'll let you know. But what she was saying is, as a child, her and her sister and her mum and dad spent 3 hours every Saturday morning cleaning the house and tidying the house. So when she then got married and she left home, she got married, moved out, that she noticed very, very quickly after a couple of weeks, the house was a complete mess, a real awful state. And a few weeks went on and she decided that her and her husband needed to talk about it and decide a way forward. And she said, look, that always worked every Saturday in my house. So why don't we do the same thing? So he agreed, and every Saturday they were working the whole day on Saturday to keep on top of the tidying and cleaning. And she said literally by Thursday or Friday the house was back to how she got it, and then they spent all day Saturday. And so she rang her mum up and said, look, what am I doing wrong? And so her mum then of course explained that the 3 hours on a Saturday were just to support the whole house with everybody working together, but all the things her mum had done throughout the week, throughout the day, and her dad, throughout the days, throughout the week, when she was at school, when she was at music, when she was at dance. So she said that was this big realisation. And then she suggested loads of things, which is pretty much the sorts of things that you've been telling me. So like when you go to leave a room, look around and think, what can I take and put somewhere else? So to constantly be doing it, rather than just standing, looking at your phone, or just standing there in the kitchen waiting for the kettle to boil, is putting the dishes away. So, it's really her. I watched nearly the whole of her video. It was really insightful, and I could really relate to that. Interestingly, I never saw my mum do any housework. Never. I cannot think of a time I saw her do housework. Maybe once or twice I saw her do ironing. Of course, I saw her doing the dinner, and my dad used to usually wash up, but I never saw her hoover, I never saw her dust, I never saw her clean, I never saw her tidy. So I think that's quite an interesting thing for a child, all done by magic. The lady also said about how quickly the bath got dirty, how quickly the sink got dirty. And now what she does is when she leaves the bathroom, she just wipes around the sink and just do it constantly. So what I tried to start doing was I took everything initially out from under my daughter's bed, looked at what things I feel like can go. I've put a little pile of extra things which I feel we can get rid of. Also, there were 2 containers, which are now empty. They were full of bits and pieces. So I've had a few suggestions from you. So my daughter wants to put those rattan baskets under the bed to create a bit more space. And someone else suggested about putting the bookcase on its side and putting that under the bed as well, which I thought was quite an interesting idea. So there are a few different options. I don't really want to keep buying more furniture because furniture takes up so much space, doesn't it? I want to get stuff clearer and get stuff out of the room. I don't really want to keep adding things to the room. So you can probably hear my daughter at the moment. She's practicing her high notes on the flute. She's doing really well, actually. The teacher wanted her to do grade 3, but I've had to say, I don't think she's going to be ready. You know how she's got all this work for her exams, and she's got her viola exam. I thought, if that's the 6th of July, I think the date for the flute exam, and I just feel like it's a bit too much. It's a shame because all her pieces are nearly ready, but I just feel like in order to do the flute exam, she really needs to be practicing every day, and how can she? She's also got rehearsals for singing concerts. She's in a fashion show. So she's got so many other things going on. I just felt like she's really keen to do the exam, but I felt like as mum, I had to say she's got enough on. And she gets so tired. Yesterday she got quite emotional saying, I'm so tired. So I just don't want to push her and get her to do more. I feel like we can just bank that for the autumn term. She's going to probably have to do new pieces, which is a bit of a pain. But I just said to her, well, that's all fine. It's more sight reading. And of course, she's got a better chance of a higher mark if she's got more time to prepare. So that's what we decided to do for that. So this morning, my husband's got up really early and he went into London for the day, and he's there quite late as somebody that he worked with is leaving. And actually, I think I've met this man once, but I feel a real warmth towards this man. And the reason for that is in 2016, I was unwell. I just had like a normal sort of like wintry lurg. And then that went on and on and on. And I woke up one night feeling really unwell. I won't go into detail, but I went to the doctors the next day. My husband took me to the doctors. I could hardly walk into the doctor's surgery, and I was bent right over and I had to have a hot water bottle on my back because I could really feel it badly in my back. And the doctor said, you need to go to A&E and you need to go now. I'll call ahead and they'll get everything ready for you. So my husband obviously took me to the hospital, and I ended up being in hospital initially for 2 weeks. So what had happened is I'd got pneumonia and then I'd got pleurisy, but the pleurisy then came later. So and sadly, our NHS is wonderful, but also because there's all the bed blocking problems and you can't get people out of hospital, you need the beds, etc. So the doctor said to me, oh, you'll be here one more night. And I'd got all my transport and everything sorted out for me to go home the next day. And then nurse came to me and she said, we need your bed and you've got to go now. And literally all my family had just said goodbye to me. They'd just left after visiting. They came back, they got me, my husband, my dad came and brought me home because obviously my husband was with my daughter. It's a long-winded story, but I came home and literally within a day I was like in agony, absolute agony, and never experienced pain like it. I went back, they wouldn't then take me back on the ward. I had to go through all A&E and everything. He then sent me home saying, had I stopped taking the medication? And I said no, but he sent me home and said, oh, you'll be fine. Keep on with the medication. And then I got worse and worse. And the doctor ended up coming for a home visit and she put the oxygen thing on my finger and he said, oh, I've come out with a faulty one. Let me try my other one. And he said, no, he said, we need to get you into hospital now. My oxygen levels had dropped to such low levels. So I was rushed into hospital, and then I'd actually got the pleurisy had set in, and it was the pleurisy, it was agony. And the reason why I'm telling you all this story was I was telling you about that man, wasn't I, who's leaving, who my husband's gone to his leaving do in London. And the reason why I have such warmth to him, do you know that man was my husband's manager? And do you know, my husband phoned up and explained everything that was going on. And he let my husband come up every single day and sit with me in visiting hours and bring my daughter up to me, because that was what I found most distressing. Not just being away from home, being away from my husband, but being away from my little girl. And she was very little. And that made me feel very emotional. But he was like absolutely fine and completely flexible. And he said to my husband, just work, you do your work around what you need to do. And I don't think he will ever really know what difference he made to my life. Quite incredible, isn't it? How managers, people at work can, really make such a big difference to people. So my husband's sorting out a collection and everything for him, but I think we'll also do our own thing, you know, send him our own card and give him a present. So you can see, I just wanted to keep on top of this. I don't like walking in the bedroom and having to climb over things. So I just wanted to tidy up and put the main things in piles. So I've got a pile of things that I need to check with my daughter about, a pile of things I definitely think can go. And then I just wanted to keep that area by the door clear as much as possible. It's far from perfect, I know. There's still so much to do, but I have made a good headway into getting rid of so much stuff. So I did work first thing this morning. I had a number of meetings, and then I decided to crack on with this room. And then I came downstairs to get ready for my invigilating this afternoon. So it was the invigilating that I really, if I'm honest, I would have been very happy not to do. I'm doing today and tomorrow, but the lady said no, she definitely needs me. So I couldn't get out of the dates. Obviously, I've committed to it and I'm not going to let somebody down. But I thought if she's got too many people, then fantastic. I'll stay at home and do other things that I need to do. But she said she needed me, so that's fine. So I did the invigilating and then went and picked up my daughter up. It started raining again. I got all my washing on the line, sadly, and they're all whites. So that was a bit of a pain. Then I picked my daughter up at the wrong location and was waiting and waiting and waiting, wondering where she was. And then I realised that I was in the wrong place. And then we've got home and you'll see me make dinner in a bit. And you might have some questions about that, you might not. Doesn't look particularly appetising, but she really likes it. But while you're watching my video, I'm going to go through some of your comments. So, firstly, Carolyn said, I've heard about allotments in England. Is it a garden that's not at your home? So allotments are usually quite big. So they might be like the whole of the size of my front garden, my house and my back garden. And then you can pay like an annual amount in order to have that piece of land to grow vegetables. Sometimes people will grow flowers as well. So my neighbour, he used to have an allotment and he grew loads and loads of vegetables, and he also had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different types of dahlia. So he would sometimes bring me some dahlias around in the summertime when they were all in flower. My dad has got an allotment, really big, and it's very difficult to keep on top of because it is so big. But if you let part of it get a bit out of hand, the council might take it from you. There are massive, massive waiting lists. So that might be like if I went on a waiting list on an allotment, I might get one in 5 years' time, for example. So Data Music said, I loved my naughty little sister. I was about 5, my sister was about 2. I viewed her as my naughty little sister despite her being just lovely. I gave a copy of the book to a niece with a similarly aged little sister. She loved it too. Oh, that's nice. What I'm quite liking about it, because obviously my daughter's quite a lot older than that, but it's quite good for the language. Because it's quite an old book, the language is very good. There's lots of words, and my daughter is saying, what does that mean? What does that mean? So that's good. Helen Palmer said, we had a funny neighbour years ago. We were sick of the front being open plan. I got in touch with the local council because originally when the houses were built, it was open plan. But they told me as long as the front wasn't over 1 metre high, we could have a fence or wall. A few weeks later, that's what we did, making it more private. She went absolutely ballistic at me. But I'd got a copy of the letter from the planning department with everything they'd said to me. I avoided talking to her and just gave her a copy of the letter. The following week, I came home from work to find my back door and dining room windows splattered with creosote. That obviously caused an argument with her threatening me with legal action, which was never carried out. Really, how do people think that's acceptable to behave like this? Really, it's so unreasonable. Teresa said that neighbour sounds like a nightmare. I loved reading the Shirley Hughes books to my daughters. I can still remember Bad Harry. Oh. Robin Daniels, your neighbour is lucky she was allowed to put the fence where she did. In Ontario, Canada, she could have gotten sued and made to remove the fence. How was that allowed there? Was there an issue with the survey when you closed the house? The survey is a sketch of the land showing all boundaries. I'm not sure what it's called in the UK. Maybe it's also a survey, but I think a property survey in the UK is what we call a building inspection. Great video as usual. Thank you very much, Robin, for that comment. So I know without doubt that that boundary was originally the neighbour's responsibility, but they filled in all the legal particulars for the old lady who used to live here, because they were friends with her when she moved in. She went into hospital and then she went into a care home. So they filled everything in. Now they marked it as shared, and the reason why they marked it as shared is because they have got the responsibility for that boundary, but they made the lady put the fence in her own garden. And to be honest, somebody like who's in their 80s, she wasn't going to know. She wasn't going to argue or disagree. But when we had a gate put up, and we wanted to put a post in, we wanted to put it on the boundary line, but they made a real fuss with our carpenter and insisted that the post was put in our garden. So he ended up doing that. We just put up with what they said, and we just dealt with it because they would not allow it on the boundary line. But then when he was nearly finished, and he put the post in and he'd done all the gate and it looked really nice, they then asked the carpenter, "Oh, can you make us a gate and we'll attach it to the post?" And of course he then said, "Well, no, you're not now going to be able to attach it to the post because you've made your neighbour put the post in their garden." So they just wanted their cake and they wanted to eat it. They just want their own rules. So that meant that they couldn't have a gate up, because then they couldn't have a post next to our post because of the concrete in the ground. So they spoiled it for themselves, really, because if they'd allowed us just to put the post on the boundary, which is what anyone would normally do, any other house that we've had anything to do with, that they would have been able to, we'd have been quite amicable about that. We'd have said, "Oh, yeah, sure, you can attach your gate to the post that we've bought." People are funny, aren't they? But as I said before, ups and downs with neighbours. Some of the time, the crazy neighbour can be absolutely lovely. Pam said, "Your garden is looking so lush and lovely. I do hope we get some decent weather soon. Though we don't sit in our garden, we have neighbours who are fairly new here, but their children, oh my word. The boy, who is the eldest, screams so much. I've got lots of nephews and nieces, had my own children, neighbours previously, friends' children, but never have I heard screaming and shouting like it. He's kicked the parts of a conservatory off at least 4 times this year with how hard he kicks his football. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anyway, enough of troublesome neighbours. Kitchen soon tidied up, didn't it? Yes, it did. Just shows how clear it helps make things function better. Great video as always. Thank you, Pam. Oh goodness. I think it's such a shame when people allow children to scream and shout. I knew someone who told me that the next door neighbour, literally the boy, used to somehow climb along the fence and then sit on top of the shed. And that was a rental house, and he used to sit on top of the shed, and then they wondered why the shed started leaking. So when my daughter got home, I made her a hot chocolate as a treat, and she had some of her chocolate, and she wanted 4 dolly mixtures in it. So she made it all, and I made it all, and there was a tiny little bit left, and I drank it, and I was like, oh my goodness. It'd gone off, and it's not due to go off until January of next year, but it was completely and utterly bitter, so I had to pour it all down the sink. So that was a waste of time and a waste of money. And do you know that was from the ones that we took to the guide camp, and because there was 2 left over, I bought them out of my own money, and then I bought one, gave the money back to Guides, only to find that just needed to be poured down the sink. So I made another hot chocolate for my daughter. Some of you might be wondering what I'm making for her. So I'm making her a battered fish. And of course, because she can't have eggs or milk or wheat, I have to make the batter in a slightly different way. She calls it a batter. Nobody else would call it a batter. But it's just like crispy on the outside, and she really likes it. So that's good. And she doesn't like boiled potatoes, but she does like potato if I just gently put it in the frying pan after the fish has been cooked. So you'll see me do that as well. I spent quite a lot of time in the kitchen today, given that I also have worked quite a few hours. I was invigilating this afternoon I got there about 1:45 and left at 3:30, which was okay. I would rather, there's things that I would rather be doing at home, and there's other things that I need to be doing for my job, really. They are nice people to work with, and I know the lady does struggle to get people, which is why I thought that I'd help out. But to be honest, I just don't have the time to do it. So I think this will be my last year. What I might say to them, if they're desperate, keep my details. But otherwise, I think I'll leave it next year. But then, you never know how things might change, because like my second job, that's got that consultation going on. So who knows what might happen with that. So the video games historian, their comments was, we have a backyard as we live in a Victorian terrace. Mind, not every terrace have backyards, some have gardens. It's quite big as we are an end terrace. Remind me where you live, please, video games historian. Can't remember whereabouts you are. Then Laura Mitchell said, in America we usually have grass lawns at the front and our back of our yard, and the back is up. In the US we usually have grass lawns in the front and the back is a yard. If you plant a specific area with flowers or vegetables, then only that area is called the vegetable garden or flower garden. Okay. Also, what you're wearing on top is called a sweater because a jumper was only worn by a woman, typically a sleeveless dress worn over a blouse. Really? We call that tank top. Do you have tank tops? A jumper which goes over a blouse with no sleeves? That's a tank top. That's interesting. Very interesting. Jumpers are also called, Celtic dollface. So jumpers are always also called sweaters here in the UK. See, that's interesting, Celtic dollface, because I would never call a jumper a sweater. The only thing that I'd possibly say is more like that sweater type fabric is when you get tracksuit top and tracksuit bottoms. A sleeveless dress worn over a blouse is called a tunic. Yes, it always fascinates me why Americans change many of our words. So I wonder where you are in the country, Celtic dollface, because we're using words differently. If we're both in the UK, a sleeveless dress worn over a blouse is called a tunic. Yeah, okay, I can see what you mean. I was thinking that she meant a sleeveless jumper. What did she put? Typically a sleeveless dress. Oh yes, I see what you mean. Yes, okay, I agree with you that. And then Cook Mum says jumpers confuse me too. Jumpers is a whole one piece. Sweater is the warm top. It's so funny. What about jumpsuit? Do you have jumpsuits in America? Wow, funny, isn't it? Hi Emma, I love your mirror. Your jumper and denim shorts are massive. Hope you enjoyed your birthday. Your garden is beautiful. Me and Adam and Ryan are going to Amsterdam in August. They both have paid for it for my birthday in August. I'll be 57 for my birthday present. So good of them. Bless them. So lovely. Happy Tuesday. Love, Barbara. Oh, that's lovely, Barbara. You're going to Amsterdam. Have you already started planning where you're going to go, what you want to see? That sounds like a fantastic trip. Amsterdam is meant to be amazing. I've never been myself. but that sounds really lovely. And on the subject of jumpers, Karen Howard said, what is a jumper? And Bluebird has said a sweater. So a jumper is a woolen top. So it's literally like knitted, a woolen sort of top. I would call a sweater, like I said a minute ago, tracksuit's top. But we don't have sweaters like how you call jumpers sweaters. We don't do that. Laura has made a point about my fence. Yes, timing will be crucial with this fence move. The new buyer will see where it is currently, expecting to be able to walk next to the side of her house. Only they can't because the hedge now comes out so far, and the next door neighbour, they're slightly hoarding. They are hoarders. They keep everything and anything. So she's got like broken pink benches down the side, broken pink seats down the side, random bits of rotten wood. And because she's frightened of spiders now, she's dumped all this stuff down the side, but she's never able to actually go down the side because she doesn't want to touch all the things that might have spiders on. I think the only thing is we're not going to move the concrete posts. So what we want to do is take the gate off the concrete post, and then when the neighbours move in, we'll say to them, oh, just to let you know, that concrete pillar is in our garden, just to make it clear so they don't attach anything to it. And actually that means they can't paint the fence their side. I have had a question where somebody has said about, is the boundary clearly marked? Well, what we used to have is we used to have boundary posts, but they decided that the boundary posts stuck out onto their side too much. They decided to remove them. I know, and the thing is, I know what you're all thinking, and the thing is, there's only so much you can do. What you have to do in England is you have to get a solicitor involved, and the solicitor will write them a letter, and then they just decide to ignore the letter. And any sort of boundary disputes, any sort of solicitor's letters to do with boundaries, you're just throwing your money away. There's literally nothing you can do. Outrageous, really. But Laura Mitchell has had problems. She described that about the everything being marked very clearly, all the boundary lines. Makes it much easier, but that is not going to be the case. I think also because our house wasn't registered when we bought it, so that made it more complicated. So it's now 9 o'clock at night. My daughter's called to me quite a few times saying that she can't sleep, so I've been up and down the stairs like a yo-yo. I've still got work to do to finish off, to prepare for meetings first thing in the morning, and then I'm invigilating in the afternoon again. But now I need to really prepare for my morning meeting because I haven't done any of the papers at all. I feel like I haven't really sat down at all today. Just one of those sort of days, isn't it? We all have those, I suppose. I hope you've all had a good day and you managed to get done everything that you wanted to get done. I still need to sort out all my presents in the lounge and decide where they're all going. I did start that yesterday, but then I didn't get to finish it. Yeah, so tomorrow I've got a couple of meetings first thing in the morning, hopefully have lunch with my husband, then I've got invigilating in the afternoon, and we'll then pick my daughter up. She's not going to bands or going to guides. She will briefly see Grandma just to say hello, and hopefully she'll go to bed at a proper time. It's always a worry when she gets so tired in the mornings, and then if she hasn't slept the night before, that's really not good at all. It's funny because it reminds me of the months and months and months where she just didn't sleep. I don't think she slept until she was about 13 months, and then she started to sleep. She used to wake up every hour and then was awake for several hours. I mean, I was like some sort of zombie. I really was. Every single night, every single night, even 11 years on, I think, oh, I'm now going to be able to sleep. It made me so thankful for sleep, having lost so many hours and hours of sleep and just being constantly exhausted. God, talking about sleep, I now feel quite tired. Right, so, and you can also see I did remember what I was told about putting an apron on. Don't forget to wear your apron, somebody told me. So I put an apron on because the grease started splattering at me and I didn't want it on my jumper or my clothes. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. Thank you for your ongoing support, your kind comments, your ideas, your suggestions, your likes. I love all of them. And I read every single one of your comments. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!